Hello everyone, I'm Aditi from myonlineshiksha.com. I hope you're doing well and you're keeping safe. Yes, I'm asking you to be safe just because of the coronavirus outbreak. It has changed a lot around us, but it has changed more for the medical profession and for the doctors as well as our biology and biotechnology students. So today we have with us Dr. Gautam Krishnan, who's going to talk on the topic Understanding Coronavirus as Biology and Biotechnology Students. He is an academician and a research and development professional in the field of biotechnology. I welcome you, sir, on behalf of myonlineshiksha.com.
Yes, good morning. I'm Gautam. Yeah, so thank you so much. Yes, I'm really good and healthy, and hope the same applies to your team too.
Okay, thank you.
Our
so
team.
much. Yeah. Yes. So let's just get on to the topic directly. So what exactly is coronavirus, and why is it important for the biology and biotechnology students to know about it?
Yes, the word coronavirus is actually made up of two words, corona and virus. So
Right.
corona is actually the part of the sun. So that's just part of the sun which is like the crown.
Right.
And this is the same part which is found in the virus. And a virus is a microorganism.
Okay.
It's so tiny that it's less than 0.1 nanometers. So it's not visible to the human eye. And it has a genetic material DNA or RNA and a protein coat. So it has just two components, DNA/RNA or protein. And the coronavirus is important because it has this protein coat, which is a spike and looks like the crown. It looks like the corona of the sun. That is why it is named coronavirus.
Right.
To answer the question, it's been around for many years. Coronavirus is also part of a family of almost 7 virus strains. And it's generally found in animals, in bats and pangolins. But unfortunately, because of the pandemic, it has now jumped. And of course, it's like wreaking havoc around the world. So that's why biology students who know this much, as they are biology students, they will know better and they should know more about it. Yeah, thank you.
Okay. So, yes. But what is the biology's and biotechnology's role in the diagnosis of coronavirus? Because, it's important for them.
Yes. Yeah, so the diagnosis is a very important tool to find out whether a person is carrying this virus. So as I said, viruses are very much part of the earth. We are exposed to all kind of viruses which cause common cold, measles, mumps, and then chicken pox in our childhood, and different kinds. So it can also be detected by a technique called RT-PCR. So that is, PCR is polymerase chain reaction, and that's where the DNA is copied. And RT means reverse transcriptase. So this kit that is currently being used, the rapid kit, the rapid diagnosis kit, all over the world, can detect it within 2 to 3 hours. So you just take the throat and the nose swab, and then the RNA, if it is a coronavirus, it will have an RNA sequence, and that is that is like reverse transcribed, means from RNA it becomes DNA, and with the PCR technique you get a lot of copies of that. So even a small amount of speck of RNA can be detected. So it is a double-edged sword, because from that we know who's carrying the virus, so there's more panic and tension. But it is important for the biotech students to understand the diagnosis part, and there are two more aspects to it, that is the vaccine and the drug development that's going on. More of it is on vaccines, as we all know. There are many candidate vaccines in trials, more than 150 vaccine research going on, out of which main trials are probably around 7 to 8, and some are in advanced stages. So why is that vaccine important? How is it being made? That should be aware, the student should be aware. And the third part, maybe little less important, is antiviral drugs. So coronavirus, being a virus, can replicate within us. So you should find a molecule that can block its replication. There are a few drugs. So these all three aspects of being in the forefront of the fight against COVID, the students can study, even though they may not be in the fight right now, but eventually in the future, yes.
Okay. Yeah, so as you said, there's a lot of panic, and most of it is because a lot of things are being said, and on the internet there's an opinion about everything, and every person has an opinion on coronavirus right now. So what is authentic? I mean, what is the credibility of all these opinions and all this information? And because biology and biotechnology students and the people who are going to appear for the life sciences paper of UPSC, they have to actually answer these questions, and they should be factually extremely correct. So what is authentic and what is credible?
Yeah, the thing is that there are a couple of sites which are very important to refer to. as a student also, as an adult also, anybody, and that I would recommend highly the WHO site, the World Health
Okay.
Organization. On the other hand, if you see the internet news coverage, there's a lot of negative publicity about the World Health Organization. In fact, the
Exactly.
chief scientist of the World Health Organization, Indian, Dr. Soumya Swaminathan, I
Yes,
have met
yes.
her during my PhD conference days many years back.
Okay.
So she's an accomplished scientist who has worked on child TB, tuberculosis. So, we should focus on those who are, authentically, getting the scientific reports. And the WHO site is the main site because they update every day. It's called situation reports. So I also read it myself.
Okay.
So they update every day how many cases are rising, what are the guidelines for washing, social distancing, drugs, vaccines. And yesterday I downloaded a pamphlet of all the current vaccines. So in my online course, I would try to, in my content, I would create some of that. So that awareness has to be there. So WHO is the most reliable site. There is another site called the John Hopkins University site that is also reliable.
Okay.
And the Mayo Clinic, the American college, like Mayo Clinic is a medical university. But I would suggest you stick to WHO, and in India you can stick to ICMR, Indian Council of Medical Research, because they are the accredited bodies. And the other persons who behave like diagnosed, vaccinologists or drug discoverers, a lot of things people write, and there are some interviews on the NDT, one of the news channels, NDTV. So you can see those interviews with doctors like Guleria from AIMS. So the accomplished medical doctors who have the real data and little saner voices, and they get you down to the earth. Yeah. So I suggest these two, ICMR and WHO mainly. Yeah. And of course you can see Facts versus Myth, that series that's going on. I'm not an advertiser of that channel, but I've seen it. It's really nice. Sometimes, yeah. Basic. The accomplished medical people is what you should read. And about the other people, well, there could be an arguments with your friends, families about who's right and who's wrong. No, it happens in my case also. My relatives also send me a lot of articles, but then I kind of send them, information to counter it. But let's not get into that. Like focus on the WHO and ICMR because they are responsible bodies. Yeah, and the government of India, the Ministry of Health, the guidelines they give, these three are important right now. So be calm and be common sense. Use your common sense, not to filter out all the unnecessary stuff. Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, it's very important to be reasonable in this time, because a lot has been said, and there's a havoc everywhere. So, while we are on this topic, like you said that we'll be soon launching your courses on our site. So can you just briefly tell us what all you're going to tell in these courses and what's important for the students, all the aspects?
Yes. Yeah, so my main focus will be biotechnology itself. So biotechnology, as we just discussed a minute ago, about drugs, about vaccines, about testing. So broadly, these three are very important today in light of the pandemic. You all heard the news report. We all heard the news report 2 weeks back that one of the trials of the Oxford University and AstraZeneca. AstraZeneca is a company I worked for 5 years in my first job, 6 years. It was a drug discovery company. They make a vaccine. So why did that vaccine trial pause? So these are the things as biotechnology students should be aware of. So essentially in the course, I will cover mostly the basics of biotechnology, how DNA protein is made, how a protein is made, cloning. And initially I'll start with the basic module, then I will move to the industry model, like how it happens in industry, what are the upstream, how do you make a product, how do you make a downstream, make it all the way to finished product, what are the quality assurance, risk management, healthcare. So because I have worked in the industry for many years, plus I have taught in a college, so I will merge the two. And explain to you how biotechnology is a little like less payment wise, less than the IT, but it has a lot of healthcare value. So if you're really interested, and I would like to incite and ignite the passion and spark for the students to contribute to healthcare. And India is one of the vaccine capitals of the world. I think 60% of all the vaccines are made in India. So you would know how these things happen, why is it made, how is it made, not just read the Google and just remember by heart, but you understand the concept behind it, and eventually you become those entrepreneurs, Atmanirbhar, not only Bharat, but think globally and act locally. So I hope that this course will play a big role in that, and of course help you to clear your exams too.
That's of course.
Yes.
So of course, I did not know that 60% of the vaccines are like Indian, and because India is the epicenter of that? I did not know that.
Serum Institute in Pune.
Okay.
They make it,
Okay.
and they make it along with collaboration with World Health Organization, because
Okay.
India has a history of working very closely with World Health Organization.
Okay.
Unlike the private sector, which kind of pushes their own vaccine agenda. So these things are very important today for students.
Of course, of course. So while we are on this
If you are in through this course, yes. If you're a student of the course, which I'll also be sharing and creating, you will be aware of all these things: industry players, government players. Not so much the political aspects of it, but the real facts, the hard facts. So WHO has been traditionally supporting developing countries: Asia, Africa, South America, Latin America. India has been the supplier for not only India but for the whole world. Yes.
Okay.
Serum Institute, especially in Pune. Yeah.
Wonderful.
And even Himachal. Yes. Yeah.
That's a wonderful insight, I think. Whenever vaccine, topic comes, I'm really relieved, and so are a lot of Indians, because of course a lot of people are waiting for it. So talking about the vaccine, it's said that COVID-19 has a lot of strains, and
yes.
Of course some are saying that there'll just be one vaccine for all, and some are saying there'll be a mixture or a concoction of a lot of other vaccines. But so, what is your opinion? Will there be just one, or will there be a mixture or a concoction of vaccines there?
Yes, so I just want to make a disclaimer in this answer, because I have personally not worked with vaccine research, though it was my dream to work on vaccine research when I was an MSc Bio student, especially when I heard the story of polio vaccine. So polio vaccine, also to start with the story of polio, was developed in 1960s in the US and Canada. And there were two types of vaccine: the heat-killed vaccine and the live vaccine. So even in the vaccine like polio virus, there were two types. So in coronavirus also, we can expect there will be different types of vaccine. So like I say, a disclaimer I make is that I will just talk on the scientific part of it, and I'm not a vaccine expert like WHO or the Global Vaccine Alliance, but I know that there are generally two types of vaccine. That is the heat-killed vaccine, where you boil the virus and you give it, or the live vaccine. You still have the virus and you give it in an inactivated form, like the polio vaccine. But today we have something more also. That is the DNA vaccines, protein vaccines, because of recombinant technology. So we have subunit vaccine. You make a part of the protein and that induces the immune system. So unfortunately, this question is difficult to answer, because one vaccine, one size fits all will never happen in this case, especially in coronavirus, because there are broadly 3 strains, and I did the research that there are actually 3 strains, starting from the A strain. It's called ABC, just for information. A is the original strain from bats and pangolins. Then it came to the Wuhan in China, the B strain, and then the C strain, which spread all over the world. And within these B and C, there are 2 types. One is S and L. So S is less lethal, but it spreads fast. L is more lethal, it spreads less, but it causes more deaths. So you have to bear in mind that there will not be one strain. So another very important question is efficacy. Whatever vaccine candidate is being made, the trials are going on. It's being done really fast because of the hurry and the pandemic scale. But any trial has to give efficacy. That means, suppose you vaccinate 100 people, and after 6 weeks, normally it takes 6 weeks. So this much I know, I'm not a vaccinologist, but 42 days for the antibodies to come. So antibodies are the ones which fight the virus. Right. So you inject the person, so it will anyway take 6 weeks. And depending on the response, how much efficacy is out of 100, if 90% are protected, that's a very good vaccine. But if 50% are protected, that's not so good. So because of this scenario, even the NIH in US has agreed that even if it is less than 90% efficacy, we may have to give the vaccine, but in more shots. So it will not be one vaccine. Firstly, it could be different for different regions of the world, though broadly there are only S and L2 strains. But because each person in this earth is different, there are 7 billion people. If you see the deaths, it is the highest in the US. It is less in India relative to the number of cases, because maybe the genetic system or genetic, so these things have to be factored in. It will not be one size fits all. It will be region specific, and the health authorities have to unite and come together, at least now, to see these studies. And these vaccine trials are very, very important. So you should have safe, efficacious vaccines. It will be a mixture of one. If it is 50% efficacy, you give one more booster dose after a short time. So that's what I meant. If it is 90% efficacy, lifelong protection will be there.
Okay.
So that's what, how many doses, how much efficacies, these are the broad parameters for a vaccine to be successful. No side effects like the one which happened in the Oxford University and Astra trial. So one lady, she got some neurological disorder, but unfortunately it's very difficult to pinpoint that she got it because of the vaccine.
Okay.
So so the vaccine is something that is externally injected, and the way we are brought up in India, especially in the Indian scenario, we always take medical things like Ayurvedic things which work as a whole, but a vaccine is a single molecule. So you cannot find out how it will go into the body and pay an impact. So this is the awareness. So in short, to summarize, one vaccine may not be sufficient. Maybe region specific. Asia could have, India, Bangladesh, Sri Lanka, Pakistan could have one vaccine. China, Russia could have one because of the genetics, because of their how they react to the vaccine. So it could be like 4 vaccines, continent-wise, maybe 5 or 6. But each of the private sector companies are vying in the race, and they are trying to show the data and impress the WHO. And there's a matter of profit also, manufacturing. So there are a lot of other factors besides science which play a role. But as students, I think, and also lay persons, we should be aware.
Yeah,
I hope it was not too long an answer.
No, sir, no, absolutely not, sir. You've given some wonderful insights, I think. And according to a lot of people, coronavirus has a lot of facts, has a lot of myths, has a lot of information, but you cannot pinpoint, that this is the correct one. It's all opinions, it's all research, of course. And it's really difficult to say, what is right and what is wrong. But I think coming from a professional like you, I don't think we need to doubt anything, or we need to, just get into the credibility. So, sir, I'm really dreading to ask the next question, because it's really, I'm scared. So, sir, it's said that coronavirus will be there, eternally on the earth. So, because it's one of those global pandemics, of course, which will remain on the earth in the form of zoonotic diseases, that is, the diseases that are transferred from animals to humans. So, sir, how correct is this fact, and should we believe on it, or what are your thoughts about it?
This may not be direct scientific answer, but it has a little bit of aspect of how we view the life itself. Okay. So in my first slides of the biotechnology course also, I have given the example of Leeuwenhoek, who was a scientist who found out, he was a cloth merchant who found out microbes in his cloth. So till 17th century, we didn't even know that there are anything besides besides humans, plants and animals. Okay. So the fact is, microbes have been on this earth for 4.3 billion years. Okay. I am not a supporter of microbes, but our human intelligence and knowledge makes us to view a virus or a bacteria as a threat. Yeah. It's also, yes, they are a threat. Like you have pandemics. We had the Spanish flu 100 years back, 1918. Yes. Spanish flu is there, especially in US. Every year, 40,000 people die of the flu. So these things are there, and they have to keep making vaccines every year. But coronavirus, yes and no. I think yes, in the sense it may be there in the earth, but hopefully not in us as it is now. Right. So now it is like the human population, 7 billion of us is it's also a molecule. It's not actually a life in sense, but we are putting we shoot the coronavirus or to kill it, but it's a piece of DNA and protein that's infecting us and playing havoc. And the recoveries are increasing. If you see the recent news, even in the US, even in India, though the cases are very high, 1 million, but recoveries, active cases are 72 lakhs. So it is, recoveries are increasing. So that means the cyclic pattern, it will move out of the host. Humans as the host, and go back to where it was in the bats. Actually, it was already there in the bats. Okay. So yes, it will be there on the earth, but it will not be there like it is now in these 6 months. So it will go back, and if that, a lot depends on us, on how we, lifestyle changes we make, and more scientific, not just emotional, not blaming a culture or a country, this country is bad, they eat these animals, and you know who I'm referring to, but that doesn't help us, because we have to see it in global 360, like all globalized village. We're in globalized village, everyone affects each other. So yes and no. No means it will not be with us. So if we have managed it well, and we have vaccinated our population, but it's a learning lesson. We have to learn a lot from this.
Of course, let's just coexist. Let's tell them to coexist and not harm us. You be there, I be there, you be happy in your life, I be happy in my life.
Yeah, and it's very funny actually, the way some media reports come, I find it really funny, like Mr. Coronavirus G, and all kinds of jokes come around. It's good in some ways, but I will tell you this is just a zero point 0.1 nanometer particle.
Sure.
And once when I was doing my PhD here in BITS Goa in India, so I was struggling with molecular biology. I'm not very good initially in molecular biology. I used to love microbiology, viruses, bacteria. But then I realized that this is just a small molecule. So, a 7-hour reaction, I can just add this reaction and I can control it. So I hope that, humankind and all of us, is madhyam se, through this we also realize that maturity and that it's a molecule and we can overcome through mind. The mind plays a very important role. Stress plays a very, you're afraid coronavirus, and then people get coronavirus.
Exactly.
I get throat infection. I get throat infection, gargling, and it comes out in 2 days. So I'm not taking antibiotics for throat for 23 days. So I'm not an expert in drugs or vaccines on this matter. But I would say that it's a scientific mind that helps a lot. So I hope that I hope that we are able to get that thing right and help us to deal with future instances like this.
Because everything has.
I hope I didn't stray off the topic. Yes.
Yes. Everything has come to a standstill and everything is paused, and it's not good. We'll start, of course, we'll start taking care of ourselves because of this virus, but we cannot, of course, end this meeting without your message for our viewers, which will be on the precautions and taking care of your health. So please.
Yes, so this again in accord with my earlier request of following the WHO guidelines. I just want to add a small line before my message, that if you students are, this is for the students, if you are really interested in researching what's going on in coronavirus, please refer to the Lancet, the medical journals, and just Google recent research on coronavirus. You'll get a lot of articles, especially those at the higher college level, first year, third year. So it's a good opportunity to study and aware what's happening. For your studies also, for the exams also, it will help you for your projects or whatever you're doing in MSc. Anyway, so coming back to my message is nothing different from the WHO message. So first is, of course, masks. So if you are at home, contained at home, it's fine. But try to restrict your movements. You have to be conscious where all you go and come every day. So the less you go to the places, and if you have to go buy groceries, go once or twice a week instead of thrice a week. So it's reduce the visits and wear masks when you go out. And a recent research has shown, so as a student I said you can research all this, that when you wear masks, actually viruses are entering you. It's not that they don't. But even that small amount of virus is stimulating your immune system to produce antibodies and protecting you. So this is how the nature has a way to heal everything. So we should follow these strict guidelines. And a special advice for young people, please put off parties. I know I'm not a moral police here, but a lot of people in India, abroad especially, not so much in India, think that we are not affected. And abroad, it doesn't apply to India, but in case in Goa, because I'm in Goa, so it's sometimes people come here and I think that they don't understand that they're risking a lot of people. So that's something, awareness is very important, and we are winning the fight naturally. We are recovering from it, but basically two things. Main thing is reduce your movements. Second is masks. Third is, of course, hand wash. So maybe the students who are watching this, you were much younger in 2009, but the same thing applied in 2009. The virus is a particle that can be destroyed by soap and by heat. Salt water gargling I do. So just wash your hands. I wash my hands thoroughly before lunch, dinner, and even when I go out. If you go out to buy something, wash your hands. Basic washing for 30 seconds. So I think that's all I have to say. Otherwise, please see the WHO website and please help your parents being calm. And you see, this is what WHO says. So don't worry about the politics part. Because news channels will say many things. जब things जब बुरी होती हैं तो everyone starts blaming everyone. So that's a natural human tendency. Success has many fathers and failure has few. So we should not worry about the WHO is the designated body and the ICMR in India and the Ministry of Health, which keeps giving SOPs and for even travel, interstate travel. If the main thing is the mind. I was answering your question. Yes, I was answering your question about take care of these precautions. Don't go out frequently. Use masks. And basically wash with soap. And social gatherings, the idea of parties was, the example of parties and things was to avoid large social gatherings.
Absolutely.
As per Unlock 4 guidelines, it is allowed up to 50 and even 100. And now schools are also opening, exams are also taking place. But yeah, all the social distancing and SOPs you must follow. Yeah, so please take care of your health. And of course, yeah, all the best.
Thank you so much, sir. I think the whole interview was, very informative, not just for the biology and biotechnology students, but for the others as well. And thank you so much for being with us today. I had a wonderful session with you, and I hope it was the same for you.
Yes. Thank you. Yes.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Please take care of your health. Okay, bye.
And for my viewers, I would just like to tell you that this interview will be there on the Facebook and the YouTube portals of myonlineshiksha.com. So do not forget to watch it. And if you have any queries regarding coronavirus for biology or biotechnology students, you can surely go on to our Facebook page and comment in this comment section. You can ask the questions. So thank you so much, and stay tuned for more such videos. Till then, keep learning and keep growing.